The last movie I went to in the theaters was about Iraq. Very good film, but since I was in Iraq, I wanted to see how the producers did it, so I went to the theater. Played 1 week in the theater, and then it's streaming. Anyway, we are going to land a big name to narrate Confronting Evil, and I thought I should keep you posted. Back in a moment. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Jane Conway, Grover, Missouri. How in the world is it possible for someone to run who's a communist? I'm talking about Mamdani. It's egregious to all men who fought and ultimately killed in wars where the purpose was to stop communism. Communism is not illegal in this country, Jane. You can be a communist, and that falls under the First Amendment. So there's no law against it. Jack Derrickson, Zephyr Cove, Nevada. I have hope for the future. My 13-year-old granddaughter saw me reading Confronting Evil, and then I gave it to her to read. She finished it within a week, and we've had in-depth conversations. She's now starting on Killing the Witches and the rest of the Killing series. Excellent. There are some really smart urchins. I don't fear for the future that much. I think we'll turn around like we always do. Wolfgang Nerdoffer, Tomsbrook, Virginia. Bill, can you give me an update on the tariffs received by the government, how the funds are being used? How could I possibly do that? The Treasury Department doesn't say where the funds are going. I can't get into the Treasury Department's books. Now, there will come a reckoning that the Trump administration will have to put it out, but I can't get it. You know, people think that like I have a magic wand here. Greg Shira, St. Louis Obispo, California. How much money are we paying Trump's war on drugs? How about spending that money on demand? Because it doesn't work. Unless you wipe out the cartels or punish them harshly. Demand? Surely you know that most drug-addicted people don't want rehab. Every study shows that. And how much money are they spending? Again, how would I know? I'm going to call Hegseth and say, how much money are you spending blowing those people out of the Caribbean? In a moment, something you might not know. Here's a bulletin for American homeowners. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft, and your equity is a target. With just a forged signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name. Without protection in place, you are left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 85 years ago this week, the German Air Force launched one of the most brutal campaigns in human history. For 8 months, 30,000 tons of bombs were dropped on English civilians, destroying 2 million homes, most of them in London and the surrounding area. Here is the story of the Blitz. In 1939, Adolf Hitler began the Battle of Britain. In preparation for a land invasion of England, the Nazis required total air superiority. That mission was a failure. The British Spitfires beat the slower German planes. In response, the Fuhrer changed tactics. Rather than targeting airfields and bases, he ordered bombing raids of major British cities. To evade English defenses, the operations were carried out at night. By November 1940, the campaign had destroyed 60% of the British capital. Many historical buildings were hit, including the Houses of Parliament, Buckingham Palace, the Tower of London. 40,000 civilians were killed by the bombs, another 150,000 injured. To avoid the bombs, millions took shelter in the British underground each night. Tens of thousands of children were ferried to safety in the Scottish countryside. But the Blitz did not succeed either. In 1941, the Nazis abandoned the operation. The German Air Force was allocated to the Eastern Front in preparation for the invasion of the Soviet Union. That too ended in disaster for Hitler and the Third Reich. And here's something else you might not know. The Blitz created one of the most iconic phrases in the English language. Beginning in 1939, the British Ministry of Information printed thousands of signs to be placed around London. The message was intended to instill confidence in the public, even as German bombs fell at night all around them. That slogan, keep calm and carry on. A good one to ponder today. Back in a moment. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield as a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan is now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote. 800-881-0365. 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
This is News Talk STL. KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Criminal cases have been dismissed against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
A federal judge concluded that the prosecutor who brought the charges at President Trump's urging was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. It's a sharp rebuke of the Trump administration's efforts to target the president's political opponents. The judge's order deals exclusively with the appointment of Lindsay Halligan as U.S. Attorney. She was a former White House aide with no prior prosecutorial experience and was tapped to lead one of DOJ's most elite offices. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Millions of Americans will be traveling for this Thanksgiving. The FAA is preparing for its busiest Thanksgiving in 15 years, with over 360,000 flights scheduled. And the TSA expects to screen more than 17.8 million people. AAA spokeswoman Aixa Diaz says the Auto Club expects millions of people to drive to their destinations, a number that could increase.
There may be some people who said, you know what, I want to avoid airports altogether. I'm going to drive my own vehicle and I'm going to do a road trip instead. So we're projecting at least 73 million people, but that number could end up being higher because more people now potentially are switching to road trips.
For road trips, AAA advises checking your car and avoiding peak traffic times. President Trump says he'll visit Beijing in April and host China's President Xi Jinping for a state visit later next year. Trump and Xi also spoke by phone on Monday to discuss trade, Taiwan, and Ukraine. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 202 points. The Nasdaq rose 598. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-289-6016. That's 800-289-6016. 800-289-6016.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine in or carry out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
That's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
You've also said in the past that President Trump has engaged in a, quote, attack on our democracy. You've called him a despot. Do you still believe President Trump is a threat to the democracy?
Everything that I've said in the past, I continue to believe.
Well, there he is, Mandami the Commie, doing his victory tour on the Sunday talk shows, saying that he had a great time in the Oval Office, but he still thinks that President Trump's a dirtbag. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. We got a lot of breaking news over the weekend and throughout the day. We have a whole cavalcade of guests to bring you this afternoon, and we're all back in the saddle. Producer Joey V, of course, on the wheels of steel, and Chris Arps.
Tim Jones, how are you?
Well, good to be back with you guys today. Hope you had a great weekend. And we've got a whole fantastically packed show for everyone today, don't we?
We do. We've got Jim Talon, of course, Speaker Stump Speech, Susie Moore, and a lot of big news today over the weekend, which Mondays usually are because we're not here for a few days. And so have to catch up on the big stories of the day. Of course, the big bombshell Friday night, MTG unexpectedly resigning from Congress. That was the talk all weekend.
Mm-hmm. I was actually with some Georgians on Friday night when that news broke, and they pointed out to me that she is retiring as soon as her pension vests on January the 5th, 2 days after it does, and then she's going to ride off into some sunset somewhere.
Very smart. I'd do the same thing.
Yeah,
if I was going to retire, make sure that you get your pension. And other folks are saying that resigning at this point of Congress really hamstrings Mike Johnson because that'll bring him down to 218 Republicans. There's a special election in Houston, which is going to bring the Democrats up to 214. There is a lot of talk, Tim, that a lot of Republicans don't see that they're going to win next year. So there's possible talk of more retirements on the Republican side. So there could be a chance where we could have a even House, or Democrats could have a 1-seat advantage possibly. So this is very tenuous. A lot of folks think MTG did that on purpose.
That would be a real shame if that was so. But that's her decision to make. And you've got 435 little principalities that make those decisions on a daily basis. Mike Johnson has been dealing with a tenuous majority, barely a majority for his entire tenure. And it looks like that is definitely going to continue. Big news that we'll discuss with Jim Talon at 425 is this ongoing development relating to a possible peace construct for the Russia-Ukraine war. It's going to be extremely difficult, but Donald Trump has not been shy about bigfooting around the world stage and ending conflicts here, there, and everywhere. Going to be very difficult to reach this one, and I know there's a lot of moving pieces. Jim Talon will analyze this for us and tell us where we are at this point in time. 445. What is up for Chris's corner?
Yeah,
today?
we're going to talk about Democrat, Republican 2028 presidential politics. It's never too early for that. A couple of Republicans have kind of made moves on possibly running in 2028. One of them that you will know, the other you possibly could think about probably running for president. Democrats also, of course, are trying to jockey for position for 2028. A lot of them are traveling to Iowa. So we'll give a little 2028 presidential politics update.
That'll be the next big contest as soon as we get past the midterms. And yes, people are already making moves for that. At 5:07, special speaker stump speech today featuring Bill Eigel, former Missouri state senator, now candidate for the county executive seat in the county of St. Charles. He unleashed a plan late last week to eliminate personal property tax in the county of St. Charles, one of the most dreaded taxes that we all get a delightful tax bill for pretty much next week. Yeah, around December 1st of every year, we get that lovely Christmas present from the county taxing jurisdictions. We'll talk to Bill about how that plan would work, what are the components of it, how the race for the county executive seat is going, and anything else he'd like to weigh on as we head towards the Thanksgiving Day holiday. Susie Moore joining us at 5:25. Susie Moore, she's like the Jose Oquendo of News Talk STL. She does this, that, and everything. She, of course, is on the morning show every morning with Mike Ferguson, deputy managing editor at redstate.com, the host of Red State Radio. We will talk to her about Donald Trump chalking up another win at the Supreme Court. Hard to keep track of all these cases and more at 5:25. Chris, at 5:45, we'll have a whole host of other things the folks need to know before we let them go for the afternoon.
Drones and dummies. So I'll let you chew on that. What the topics are going to be 5:45. Drones and dummies, dummies and drones.
Interesting indeed. That'll be at 5:45. And then, of course, we'll turn you over to Larry Connors. Larry Connors USA, right back at you at 6:05 every evening, Monday through Friday here at News Talk STL. As mentioned, producer Joey V. He's already thinking of the boys of summer with his St. Louis Cardinals sweatshirt on. And you're ready for warmer times, I see already, even though we're heading into winter.
That's correct. Also, I've been preparing our best of shows that are going to air for Thanksgiving. And it's just every movie review I've ever done. I don't know how it worked out that way. So, like, you're going to hear at least 12 movie reviews on Thursday. Yeah.
Well, it is movie season.
I know.
Christmas movie season starts after Thanksgiving, right?
Everything else will be dated by then. So, yeah, it's really the best of. The fans spoke, and I had to listen.
I understand.
Joey, I understand that a movie that you couldn't care much less about, Wicked 2, was at the top of the box office this weekend. I'm assuming that was expected, but maybe not for sure.
Yeah, when you leave people hanging like that, you got to go and finish off the rest. And I bet there are a lot of people who walked out saying, what the heck was that? But it's good for the theater owners. I mean, making $150 million domestic and another 76 worldwide. I mean, that's incredible.
That's like pre-pandemic numbers, though, isn't it? I mean, these movies after pandemic don't open with those type of numbers.
There's nothing you can compare it to. And I've heard the movie's pretty awful, but with the Wicked numbers, you'd want one of the stars to be nominated for an Oscar so you can boost your viewership as well. So maybe someone will get nominated for the entire project, like an Ariana Grande for both movies, but it'll be for this one technically.
Maybe they'll get the best cinematography.
A best will they, won't they relationship. Like, I don't know what those two girls are doing.
Yeah, that was kind of weird when I read that.
Joey, a little bit, you and I talked about this before the show. It's a little aggravating, all this revisionist history that they're doing with such a classic known as The Wizard of Oz, basically making the Wicked Witch of the West a lovable, adorable, endearing figure and making Glinda kind of a ding-dong goofball, right? I mean, overall.
The biggest complaints I've heard is just the shoehorning in of some of these characters, like having a Dorothy in the movies, which I don't think are part of the book really or part of the musical, but they really needed it to be in the movie just so people can go, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But I don't know how it ties into the movie specifically. I know Big Boss Joe and Big Boss Michelle, they probably saw it. Well, yeah, we should get them in, give their review.
Have them do a review.
Yeah, I know.
Chris, did you ever read any of the actual books that Frank Baum wrote, the Wizard of Oz series?
Had no idea until the movies came out that they were books. I thought it was just a movie from 1939.
You thought Michael Jackson invented it.
The Wiz.
Yeah.
I dared to read a bunch of those books, and one gets weirder than the other. There's a lot of theories about what Frank Baum may have been doing while writing those books.
Maybe a little LSD back in the day.
And if you think about it, the movie was 39, right, Joey, is what you said? So the books were written long before that. So we're talking about books that were written at the turn of the 20th century. And they do get progressively more bizarre as you go deeper into the, quote, land of Oz. I mean, there's some, the TikTok man. I mean, there's a lot of weirdness in those books. The Wizard of Oz, the one we're all familiar with, is maybe the lightest, most approachable one. And then they get, like I said, progressively more strange and bizarre as you dive deeper into the land of Oz.
I had no idea.
Maybe it's like Dune. Like, he's on drugs and it gets weirder and weirder.
Speaking of Dune, saw a good movie this weekend, Joey, The King with Timothy Chalamet. Pretty good acting in that.
Oh,
movie.
Tim has been bragging about that movie for a while.
Very
That
good
Timothy
movie.
Chalamet
Love that movie.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Love that movie. That's a fantastic flick. He's a great actor. He came out last week to delve back into politics from this pop culture quiz we've had. Chalamet basically said that he spoke in favor of like the nuclear family. So I'm like, whoa, stepping out on a limb at a young age in Hollywood and embracing traditional American values is not something we often see.
I like that. And he is of Jewish persuasion, and Jewish people are very strong family oriented. So maybe that's maybe a part of why he still adheres to the traditional family.
It's Thanksgiving week. Can you believe it? It is the last full week of November 2025. We'll be with you, of course, today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Then we'll have some special programming for everyone of News Talk STL Nation. All of our shows, special programming Thursday and Friday. And we hope everybody travels very safe and well this week and has a great time with family and friends.
Yeah. There was supposed to be another big story today, but the president canceled it. He was supposed to announce his healthcare price cuts act in the Oval Office today. It's been postponed to hopefully tomorrow. Some of the details of his plan were leaked out. The plan included a 2-year extension of the Obamacare subsidies, new limits on eligibility, and income caps for enrollees to qualify for the ACA tax credit. So I'm very curious on why that plan was postponed.
I heard conservatives on Capitol Hill push back hard on some of the top lines that they saw, especially on the extension of the Obamacare tax credits. And many have concerns about the Hyde Amendment and any of this government funding for this expansion going towards abortion services.
That's one. There's a lot of plans that have been put out by the middle of the road caucus. Some Senator Scott put out a plan yesterday, and you're right, Tim. That's one thing that hasn't been discussed too much. Is will ACA, this is Obamacare subsidies, will they pay for abortion? So I think you're right. I think they want to put something in the plan regarding that.
Yes, they and their time is limited on this because whatever the White House comes out with is not guaranteed at all to become law. Congress is going to have to act on this. And if you look at the congressional calendar for the rest of the year, they have limited days left to get something through the House and the Senate, and then likely through a conference committee before December 31st.
Yeah, I think anything that President Trump comes out with, and it's his plan, I think he can lean on enough people to get the votes that he wants.
We will see what happens. I think they'll do. Donald Trump did have a very interesting Truth Social post last week on this very subject, where he basically trashed the Obamacare subsidies and says that he wants to end that practice and have the money go directly to the people. So we've gotten mixed messages from the White House. We'll have to see exactly ultimately what comes out on that point. Once again, big show today. Senator Jim Talent going to be weighing in on the Russia-Ukraine developments. Lots of developments there regarding a potential structure for a peace plan. There are some new developments out of the Middle East as well. And Chris, in our backyard, we have got the ongoing saga of the conflict between Maduro and Venezuela as the U.S. continues to flex its very powerful military muscles.
Exactly. And speaking of resignations, we've talked about MTG resigning on Friday. We had a local resignation. Representative Justin Sparks, state representative, has resigned his seat, or will be resigning his seat, to take a job in the Trump administration under Homeland Security.
Yes. Justin contacted all of us yesterday in the Freedom Caucus, let us know this announcement was coming. It is a very difficult prospect to try to earn a living as a state legislator in the state of Missouri, especially when you have 7 children like Justin and his wonderful wife, Mandy, do. He is going to be taking a position under Homeland Security, specifically under ICE. It's right in his wheelhouse. Just to remind everyone, Representative Sparks was in law enforcement. He was a narcotics detective before entering the Missouri House. So he's going back into the career that he loves so deeply. And as we heard, Chris, they're making lots of great offers to people in Homeland Security these days. And he said it was an opportunity too good to be passed up. He will be greatly missed. However, he already has eyes on a potential successor or two. And so from what I've heard, that seat will remain in very solid hands.
I do. I've heard of a couple of people that are vying for that seat, and it's going to be interesting watching them if they fight against each other and go for that seat.
I've heard at least 3, if not 4 names already coming out of that. Several of them who are well known to News Talk STL. So when people make official announcements, we will definitely have them on, like we always try to have as many candidates on throughout we will have many candidates on between now and next August, because like there's national midterms, there's going to be state-based contests as well. All right, Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, Monday edition, the Monday of Thanksgiving week. We aren't taking a break here yet. We're going to bring you Senator Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council, Russia-Ukraine peace deal, peace in the Middle East, and more here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The news and talk
85-year-old Nancy Pelosi, she's finally calling it quits.
that matters to St. Louis.
The people who love Mom Donnie the most are not people who pay bills every day.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Well, this came upon us quickly and fast, didn't it? The fact that Black Friday is this Friday. We are firmly and fully in the holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, gift-giving season, and I don't want you to panic. I want you to pay very close attention to the one-stop shop that I'm going to send you if you're in the market for some really nice stuff for the really nice people in your life. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, located 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com. During the business hours of Monday through Saturday, you can find them at 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, just 2 miles west of Interstate 270. Neighborhood jewelry store for all of us here in the St. Louis region. Dare I say, most of Eastern Missouri since 1961. Richard Newsteader, his entire team take great pride in being local and family owned. They have been in the honest jewelry solution business for well over 50 years. Richard is a master engraver. He can create legacy items for you and your family to hand down through the generations. They've got everything under the sun and more at Newsteaders. Of course, fabulous, fantastic lab-grown and mined diamonds that you can place into their beautiful wedding and engagement ring sets. Hand-engraved items, like I mentioned, created by Richard himself. Pendants and earrings and gemstones. They offer services as well, including all sorts of jewelry repair, watch repair, appraisals, pearl and bead restringing. I could go on and on. Check them out 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com. Head in there today. You will experience the Newsteaders difference that I and many of my family members have experienced every single year that we go to Newsteaders to get nice stuff for the wonderfully nice people in our lives. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, they're at wowdiamonds.com. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K at O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris. How are you, Vic? I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Right now, we are at a critical moment.
And we are working closely with the United States, with European partners. Putin wants legal recognition for what he has stolen. And that's the main problem. You all understand what that means. He wants it not only from Ukraine, he wants it from the whole world. And it's very dangerous. And I ask you, do not stay silent. Do not be passive observers of history. Be participants.
426 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And there you hear the president of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky, asking the U.S. and Europe and the world to stay with Ukraine and don't abandon them. We'll ask Senator Talent next. Is this war coming to an end? Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Hope you had a great weekend.
I did, Chris. Thank you. And it's good to be with you two cohorts in crime.
All right, let's go around the world in about 13 minutes. Over the weekend, a peace proposal, a 28-point peace proposal was proposed. A lot of confusion there. Senator Rubio was said to have told U.S. senators that Russia wrote this plan, and then it was taken back. President Trump has given Ukraine till Thanksgiving to accept this deal, and he seems to be walking that back some as well. Senator, where exactly are we at with this peace deal and the situation between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I doubt it's the end of the war, as you mentioned in your intro. I do think it represents progress because it's moving towards what I always thought was going to be the bottom line. And on the dispute between Rubio and the senators, I have to say I'm with Rubio on this one because the peace agreement or the peace proposal is certainly not the Russian wish list. I just guarantee you that. It allows Ukraine to have a sizable army. They're going to argue over the size of it. There's no limit on offensive weapons, no limit on Ukrainian sovereignty, except they can't join NATO, which they weren't going to do anyway, or at least NATO wasn't going to let them in. The lifting of sanctions on Russia is conditional. And there's an explicit guarantee there. It's just a guarantee without an enforcement mechanism, but there's an explicit guarantee of Ukrainian security. So as it's heading towards the bottom line that I always thought an agreement would entail, which is Russia will get more territory, and that's what Zelensky is trying to bargain over now, which is his perfect right, and the Ukrainians will get sovereignty and security going forward. So I don't think this is going to come to an agreement because I don't think Putin's going to agree to it. And we've discussed on the show before why. Although the fact that this is in play now and he's been talking suggests that maybe he's hurting worse than he's letting on.
Yeah, Senator, for a two-part question here. First of all, do you think we'd even be, even though we may not end up eventually with a plan because of Putin, as you mentioned, would we even be discussing something at this point? We would be making progress to this point, but for Donald Trump. I mean, for example, in the Biden presidency, it seemed like we just lurched from one disaster to another on the world stage. So because of Donald Trump's presence, seems like we've gotten a little further along. But Senator, on the other hand, this is a very different conflict from what we saw in the Middle East, right? Despite all the bloodshed, Putin doesn't want to exterminate the Ukrainians like Hamas wants to exterminate the people of Israel. He views Ukraine as part of Russia, right? Because it was part of the old Soviet Union.
Yeah, or he thinks he's Peter the Great or something like this. It doesn't really matter to me, and I don't think it matters to the United States. And we discussed this on the show before. This has been an enormous strategic blunder by Putin, no matter what happens, because Finland and Sweden are now in NATO. The Europeans are stepping up their defense expenditures, and not relying on Russian energy anywhere near as much. They're going to end up buying our energy. Russia's lost Syria as an ally because they couldn't reinforce Bashar Assad. They don't control the Black Sea anymore. I mean, these are enormous, and they lost 1 million men, and they've gotten territory about, I don't know, half the size of the state of New York. It's just not worth it, right? And so I think the issue is, and this is where I think the president misestimated. He thought Putin's in a big hole and he's going to want to stop digging. I think Putin knows that when he signs an agreement, he takes the L. He's got to go back to Russia then and explain why this whole thing, this whole disaster. And he doesn't want to do that. So I doubt they'll get an agreement here. As I said, I think it's progress, the fact that they've been talking. I think the president may have to, at some point, really step up the pressure on Putin. Although I think he's concerned that the bullets he's going to shoot are not going to do it, that Putin is just going to continue sacrificing men. He's not going to reverse. Putin is not going to reverse any of those forfeits I just mentioned by signing an agreement. So this is a tough nut to crack. And Trump is doing his best. I think he's getting further than anybody else could get. And I'll just say, I fully agree that we ought to be seeking a negotiated solution along these lines, because a big war in Eastern Europe is not in our interests. I'm just talking like an American here. We want stability in Europe. And although Russia, I think, has been very substantially weakened as a threat, so in that sense, it's been good. But the war dragging on and on is not in our interest. So the president's trying to do the right thing. It's just a tough nut because of the situation Putin's in.
Senator, another hot spot in the world, in Africa, and it's not getting a whole lot of attention, but Sudan is at war, and their top general has rejected a ceasefire proposal that was provided by the U.S.-led mediators as, quote, the worst yet. Your thoughts, and give us some background on exactly what's going on here.
Well, Sudan is rent by civil strife, and it does not have highly developed civil or governmental institutions, and so it's unable to control it. And there's a lot of people in the government who don't want to. And so there's always, the main conflicts between the government and what do they call themselves? A rapid response force or something like that. And but there are other factions as well, and there isn't any force on the ground that's capable of establishing stability. And so it looks like this thing is going to go on. Now, the general said that the agreement would require they disband the army and the intelligence forces. I really doubt that that's the case. I just don't think he likes it, and he's not going to agree to it. It's a bad situation, and the international community has not figured out, because it doesn't want to, it doesn't care, how to deal with these huge humanitarian crises. Like 14 million people have been displaced. When are the kids in Colombia going to complain about that, do you think, guys?
Senator, there's lots of international news today. One of the big stories that came out midday was the fact that the White House did confirm that President Trump and the Chinese Premier Xi did discuss, did have a phone call today where they discussed trade, Taiwan, and Ukraine, touching on many of the big hotspots. Senator, are you hopeful at all that anything can come out of these talks that Trump seems to be having on and off with China? We often have talked over the last few years how China is our largest existential threat. What, if anything, are you hopeful that the Trump administration can accomplish when it comes to them?
I think they've accomplished a lot already. They're shifting the competition. I'll call it that. You know what? I'm going to start calling it a conflict. It's not a kinetic conflict. God willing, it won't become one. But it's a conflict between these two great powers. It's great power conflict. And Trump has shifted it away from the military domain into the economic and the diplomatic domain. His latest trip to Asia was a step in that process, right? He went to a lot of different countries, some of them very firm allies like Japan and South Korea, to firm up our relationships there. He's attempting to onshore a lot of manufacturing capabilities so that we are not relying on China for things like rare earths or pharmaceuticals. There's a vast variety of things that we're unfortunately dependent on them for. So, and he's building out an architecture within the national security community in order to be able to conduct this competition, which is probably going to go on for decades, barring something strange. So, do I see a resolution of it around the corner? No. I think what we want to do, though, is to keep the lid on it, to prevent it from breaking out into kinetic conflict between China and Taiwan, because that probably brings in the United States and the other allies. And it's an article of our foreign policy, Tim, that we want to accomplish our goals, advance our security, protect our interests, but we want to use means to keep us as far as possible from escalating armed conflict with a peer competitor. And that would be a disaster. So the only thing they're not doing that I want to see them do more is to strengthen military deterrence in the Indo-Pacific. They're working on it, but the Department of Defense is just so frustratingly slow in everything it does, which is why, you know, we're working with Israel and working with Ukraine on so many different things, because they can adapt technology so much faster than we do it. But that's an institutional problem, and we haven't solved it yet.
And also within that call, I think the president is scheduled to visit China early next year, and the Chinese premier is scheduled to come to Washington as well. Senator, I want to ask you, go domestic here. You are a former member of the Senate. You're also a former member of the House of Representatives. Want to get your thoughts on the fact that since Speaker Johnson has been Speaker, there have been 5 successful discharge petitions. That's more than there have been in the prior 30 years. I want to get your political thoughts on that.
You know, that's a function of a very, very narrow, and the fact that the Republicans have the majority, and it's a party with independent thinkers, many of whom I agree with, some of whom I don't. And the discharge petition is a way for the rank and file to get issues on the floor that the leadership doesn't want put on the floor, which is, you're right, it's atypical in the House for that to happen. I don't really mind it that much. It's a kind of a safety valve, and I'm sure Johnson would rather have people doing that than moving to vacate the chair, right? Because that overthrows really the whole agenda. So, is it a good thing? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want the members to feel like they couldn't do it. But the answer to it, if you don't like it, is to get a significant enough majority so that they can't do it. But you're right; it rarely happened, and I do get worried sometimes about a lack of discipline. The Democrats have that. You know, Pelosi was Speaker with a majority almost as narrow, and she was able to control it. But she has special interest groups behind her that can knock heads together, and we're seeing that on a number of issues. They're just afraid. The individual Democrats, they're afraid to challenge the orthodoxy.
Senator, here in our backyard, tensions continue to flame in and around Venezuela. Senator, we've talked for years about the fact that the Trump doctrine appears to be to largely extricate us from the world's conflicts and to use American muscle and military strength to deter new conflicts from beginning. But here, Senator, we have a very active military action. Could you remind our listeners, what is the national security interest here in our backyard? And doesn't it involve trying to keep China's influence out of our side of the globe?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Well, I would say, first of all, I don't think we're ever going to have a Trump doctrine as such. The president is a practical man, solves problems, and I think always with a view towards protecting core American interests. And there's several here. One of them is the drug trade. And these attacks on the drug boats, I think, were designed not only to stop, particular loads of drugs from coming to the United States, but to convince the cartels and the drug runners that maybe they don't want to be sailors on these boats in the future, right? I imagine it's a lot harder to recruit people to do that now that we've taken out about 20 of them, right? So there's the whole drug trade, and then the cartels who are behind it. And people who think that the cartels are just like gangs, like an organized crime or car theft ring here in the United States, they don't understand the problem. These are basically, they're subnational, but their tentacles reach in a number of different governments in Latin America. They're a real threat. They're almost like alternative governments. And then you mentioned the fact that Maduro in particular, he hosts Cubans who help keep him in power, Cuban intelligence and security forces. He's hosted Russian ships. The Chinese have their tentacles into the country. And it's not in our interest to have in the Western Hemisphere a government that is a close ally of powers who are hostile to us. We've had to put up with Cuba all these years after the Bay of Pigs failed. And I think Trump is pressuring Maduro. He wants him to stop the drug trade. He wants him to stop cooperating with the cartels. He wants him to, stop seeking out every possible anti-American policy he can find and pursue it. So I'm fine with it. I don't think people should expect overwhelming results. We're not going to invade Venezuela. There might be some targeted strikes on particular locations, particularly drug locations in Venezuela. And I'd be okay with that too. But I don't know that our intelligence is good enough for us to target as accurately as we'd like.
And that is Senator Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. On X, Jim Talent. Senator, thank you as always, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next Monday.
That was a fast 13 minutes.
It was. It always is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. All right, coming up next on Chris's Corner, we're going to talk about where's my sheet here. We're going to talk about Democrats, Republican 2028 presidential politics. It is never too early to talk about presidential politics. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
There's nowhere to go. Oh no, you made your choice.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
To bow out gracefully, though you hold the key. But baby, whenever you call me, I'll be there.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story of the great rattlesnake roundup.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Would you like to get some information about the current real estate market? Do you think you might even be thinking about perhaps buying or selling a home or a piece of real estate? Got the team for you. The Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway, Rodney and Jen Wallner, and yes, now featuring also our own Jamie Allman. He has joined the Wallner Home Selling Team. They're all standing by to assist you today when you call them at 314-810-SOLD, offering flexible commission plans that are tailored to you and your family and your needs, not some cookie cutter boilerplate model that benefits only the real estate agents. The Wallners have so many approved home buyers. They'll guarantee to obtain you an offer if you're ready to sell the homestead and move to another one. They're a husband and wife team, plus Jamie Allman. You get a unique family perspective of 3 different agents for the price of one. How awesome is that? There's no obligation. There's no long-term commitment with any arrangement that you sign with the Wallners. If it becomes not a good time to buy or sell a home, you walk away. No questions asked. There's no penalty. There's no foul. You come back when you're ready to rock and roll. The Wallners, licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. And you can get a free listing consultation, have all your questions answered about the real estate industry in and around the St. Louis and Eastern Missouri region writ large. And like I mentioned, also Western Illinois from the Walners today when you give them a ring at 314-810-SOLD. That's the Walner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day, something new.
No one else is really talking about this. I'm glad you're fired up about it, too. Trump's doing the right thing. You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you. You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Days after announcing she's quitting Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene is making it clear she does not have her sights set on the White House. Greene posting, "I'm not running for president and never said I wanted to," adding, "I'm not the kind of person who is willing to make the deals that must be made." Greene's sudden decision to step down has sparked debate about what comes next for the Georgia Republican after the very public breakdown in her MAGA alliance with President Trump.
447 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And there you hear Margaret Taylor Greene, MTG, saying that she is not planning to run for president in 2028, even though there's going to be a whole host of people running because it is an open seat. But a big surprise to everyone on Friday that she decided to resign her seat. She says that she feels betrayed by the president. She feels that her safety is in danger. And so this is best for her and her family to bow out. I hope that she doesn't do the View and the CNN circuit and become a contributor for them. But Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving Congress. Tim, you have any further thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope she doesn't become a Adam Kinzinger type, Liz Cheney type of Republican and just start crapping on everyone because it seems like that rarely happens on the left. It happens from time to time. But it would be a weird turnabout for the brand that she established so well for the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the criticism that she received, of course, that she was urging to have this discharge petition to get the Epstein files out, which now looking back on it, it was passed 427-1. So was she wrong to advocate for that? Seems like the whole Congress is for that. Senator Talon, we've had him on. He said last week it was something that he would probably vote for. So interesting situation there. Joey, let's go ahead and do a little corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
We've seen how ranked choice voting has been a disaster in Democratic primaries on the West Coast and in New York. Now the Democrats want to take this to a whole nother level and institute it in their Democratic primaries. Maryland Representative Jamie Raskin and pollster Celinda Lake are pitching the DNC on a plan to implement ranked choice voting in the 2028 presidential primaries. According to Axios, supporters argue that it would, quote, prevent people's votes from being wasted after presidential candidates drop out. I'd like to just know how that would work on like Super Tuesday, because Super Tuesday, you've got the whole host of states that voted one time. We've seen with this ranked choice voting, it takes like 2 and 3 weeks sometimes to figure out who won an election. I mean, you're just asking for a cluster with something like this at ranked choice voting, but it seems like this is something the Democrats are going to pursue. Senator Cory Booker, Spartacus, of course, has been making the rounds seeking the presidential nomination for 2028. He visited New Hampshire last week, but a pro-Palestinian group, the IMEU Policy Project, is running ads criticizing the New Jersey Democrat for appearing alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu early this year. Oh, God forbid. And for voting against measures that would have blocked arms sales to Israel. So even though Spartacus is very, very left, you cannot support Israel in today's Democratic Party, and that may be a hindrance for him. The IMEU Policy Project is putting $25,000 behind a one-day buy, $15,000 on cable in New Hampshire, and $10,000 and social media ads. That's not a lot of money in politics. I don't know how much people they're trying to sway with that. It's the latest in a series of ads the group is running against targeted potential presidential 28 hopefuls, including Ruben Gallego of Arizona. He has been rumored. And, of course, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has been rumored as well. And IMEU Project has been placing ads against them. Approval of President Trump's handling of the economy has dropped 15 points since March. That's per a CBS New York YouGov poll. A lot of folks are concerned the president is spending too much time on foreign policy instead of with domestic issues. And many believe that's why his approval is dropping, especially when it comes to the economy. Pollster Patrick Ruffini, who was a GOP pollster, he said that the most challenging issues that Republicans have and the president have this next election is quote unquote affordability, including housing, which was the top concern for those 18 to 24. Pollster Patrick Ruffini said you just can't talk about gas and groceries. You have to talk about healthcare and housing too. Speaking of 2028, of course, Vice President J.D. Vance is going to be one of the top tier candidates, if not the leader, when that time comes around. He has said that the working class coalition is the reason why Donald Trump won the 2024 election, and that a fundamentally new phenomena in American politics. And this is a coalition that the Republican Party cannot take for granted. Has to make sure that we are paying attention to these folks. President George W. Bush and the McCain and those type of leaders are gone within the Republican Party. The new Republican base is more blue collar and more union. And so for them, big issues are affordability, housing, groceries, healthcare, being able to send their kids to good schools. Those are the issues that Republicans need to focus on. The guy I worked for in 2016, Ted Cruz, his name is back into the mix. People are speculating that he's going to run again in 2028. He has started a podcast, which I listen to every day, every other day. It's very, very good. He has made this thing very, very successful. It's one of the top podcasts in the country. It's called Verdict with Ted Cruz. He got a big write-up in Politico talking about how popular it is and say he's been the next Joe Rogan or Kelsey brother. I figured that when Ted Cruz started his podcast before his last Senate race, which didn't look like he had a good chance of winning that race. It was going to be a very tough race for him. I felt that he was preparing himself for a future radio career because he does the podcast with a radio host, but he doesn't do the podcast just as a guest giving political analysis. He actually does it as a host. And I thought he may have been trying to groom himself for that if he did lose his Senate seat in 2024, I think it was, that he could make an easy transition into radio broadcasting. Fortunately for him, that did not happen, but his podcast is very popular. As I said, it is picked up by one of the big podcast syndicators has syndicated it. And the only thing I hate about it, because it is popular, it has a lot of commercials. And you usually don't hear a lot of commercials on podcasts, but he literally will have 2 minutes of solid commercials for a podcast, which shows that it's popular and a lot of organizations want to advertise on it. And that is Chris's Corner.
Back to where you began with ranked choice voting. It seems
insane.
like the only ideas Democrats have these days are bad ones. They're trying to repeal ranked choice voting in Alaska for the third time. And they think that the third time might be the charm because Alaskans, Republicans and Democrats have realized what a bad system it is. Because every time they try it, it yields these ridiculous results, as you said, that you don't even find out for like 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that will be repealed this third go around.
I mean, it needs to be. I mean, it used to be, and I remember when I grew up, when you went to the election or to the polls, you knew like a couple of hours after the polls closed. And now with this ranked choice voting, you're not finding out till a couple of weeks after, or maybe a month after the election, who won a race. Who wants to deal with something like that, especially when it comes to presidential politics, because the big donors and people that give everyday money want to know where a candidate stands. Did they win in this particular race? How did they fare? Did they come in second and third? If you've got to sit and wait for 2 and 3 weeks or a month to find out, a candidate's money could dry up and they can't continue the race. So it's very foolish. I know the Democrats are all about equality and trying to give everybody a voice. This would be an absolute disaster for them to implement this, and I hope they do.
Mm-hmm. It's such an important point to make that as recently as I quickly looked this up. The population in the United States in 1990, okay, so 35 years ago, was 250 million people. But yet, as you just mentioned, we often knew election results with 250 million people spread out over the same massive geography that night.
Easily.
Now, Chris, we're walking around with supercomputers in our back pockets that can help us learn how to go to the moon. And we don't know election results for days, weeks, and in some cases, months at a time.
Yeah. And the old rule of thumb is that a longer that we don't know the results after election is over, the more opportunities for shenanigans to happen. And we've seen that in so many elections. One of them was Al Franken. I'll never forget that vote. The Senator Coleman was ahead in that race, and then they ended up finding votes in the trunk of a car. They actually counted those votes, and after a few days, Senator Franken ended up winning that election. Absolutely incredible. But got to get these elections done on time. Get the shenanigans out. All right, Speaker Stump Speech 507.
Yes, we're going to speak with former Missouri State Senator, member of the Freedom Caucus, Bill Eigel, about his proposal to eliminate personal property tax in the county of St. Charles.
And then we'll have our weekly visit with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com. She'll chalk up another win at SCOTUS for the Trump administration. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too, until I called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or STLWindowsandDoors.com.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump has been on the phone with China's Xi Jinping. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
U.S. and Chinese officials confirmed that the two leaders had a phone call on Monday. According to China's official news agency, Xi told the president that Taiwan's return to mainland China is an important part of the post-war international order. The presidents also discussed trade, but the Chinese statement did not reveal any concrete agreements on matters such as the purchase of American soybeans. Greg Clugston, Washington.
As the Thanksgiving holiday approaches, Michigan State University food economist David Ortega says although turkey prices are forecast to be 40% higher this year than last year, there are bargains to be had.
We're seeing some promotions being implemented in an effort to draw customers into the store. So even though prices have increased over the past couple of years, consumers can still expect to see a lot of promotions, a lot of sales as we get further into the holiday season.
Market research company Data Assembly expects the 10 holiday meal staples it takes to cost 4% more overall. Canned cranberry sauce had the biggest price increase after drought-impacted production and new tariffs on steel-made cans more expensive. Travelers this Thanksgiving may still feel on edge after the historic government shutdown that caused widespread flight cancellations and delays. But experts say staying informed about weather, traffic, and airport wait times can help ease anxiety. On Wall Street, a good day as the Dow was up by 202 points. The Nasdaq rose 598, with the S&P 500 advancing by 102. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everyone is watching major movements ripple through the markets these days, sparked by new policy shifts out of Washington and activity from the Federal Reserve. Americans have faced uncertainty before, and every time we've found our footing again. The real secret to long-term financial peace is simple. Keep your eyes on the horizon and understand the fundamentals that drive real stability. That's exactly why Advantage Gold is inviting you to call 800-741-GOLD right now. We'll send you a free Gold IRA rollover kit, along with a complimentary copy of economist Ken Rogoff's insightful book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Inside, you'll learn how to defend your retirement savings against inflation, market swings, and reckless fiscal policies, with tangible assets like precious metals that have preserved wealth for centuries. It's no wonder Advantage Gold has been America's #1 gold company for the past decade. Take a smart step toward protecting what you've earned. Call 800-741-GOLD. That's 800-741-4653. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but
Now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Why have we sat around for 5 months and not started on the second reconciliation bill? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, in my opinion, I'm just making an observation. To me, it's a 12-piece bucket of stupid not to do another reconciliation bill and to waste 5 months before we even start on a second reconciliation bill, assuming that we get started tomorrow. I mean, humans are supposed to have evolved as a species. Why would we not do a second reconciliation bill? Think of what we could do.
Senator Kennedy really laying it on and giving it to all his Republican colleagues in the U.S. Senate, and probably also referring to the House as well. Echoing, Chris, what you mentioned in Chris's corner about the fact that many believe that now that Donald Trump has gotten the world stage kind of calmed down and settled down for now, things need to turn back to domestic issues. A lot of great stuff in the one big, beautiful bill, but people's memories are very short, and we're not going to probably see the effects of a lot of that till next year's tax year. But Senator Kennedy saying, how about we get back to some brass tacks? We can pass a second reconciliation bill. Lots of stuff was left on the cutting room floor. Let's pick it back up and let's work on it.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where people can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think most of the focus in Congress right now is trying to figure out what they're going to do about these Obamacare subsidies, and will Republicans have a health care plan going into 2026? I think that's where the majority of the energy and the focus is, unfortunately, but I think that they could do two things at once.
They should, and this is why the executive has gotten so powerful. Now, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about the presidency, period. The executive has gotten incredibly powerful over the last many decades, largely because Congress has let it. They have conceded lots of authority to the executive branch in many different areas. Welcome back to the program. Tim Jones, Chris Arps, producer Joey V. We've got former Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel standing by on the line. We'll get to him in just a second. Chris, as I was zipping in and out between our break, I took a gander at the big giant, the beautiful red bucket, as Donald Trump might say. It is nearly full here at our wonderful studios at Westport, near Westport. That's one of the 9 or 10 buckets around the entire St. Louis metro area and beyond. We're doing a big canned food drive. It does not end this week, folks. I don't want you to think because Thanksgiving is Thursday that we're done with the canned food drive. We're going to go all the way till December 21st. In addition to non-perishable items, you can also throw in new unwrapped toys. You can also throw in toiletry items. Again, anything that's non-perishable that you think a family in need could use. We will get it to Feed My People, a great local charity, and you're going to help us make a lot of people a lot happier and a lot less anxiety-ridden as we head into a tough time of the year, despite the joyful holidays.
Exactly. And Christmas is about a month away. And if you had a toy that you'd like to donate, please do that as well. I'd like to put a challenge out to those that are going to some of these other locations that the red barrels are at. Take a picture of them. Let's see how many perishable or non-perishable items are in there, and see the good work of the listening audience of News Talk STL and just good-natured people in general.
Great point. So for all of you who are listening to us right now out there in News Talk STL Nation, if you visit any of the places that have the big giant red barrels, they're at newstalkstl.com. All the locations are up there. As Chris said, if you go and bring something with you, take a picture of yourself depositing whatever you're depositing into the barrels, send it to us, and producer Joey V may feature you in the newsletter this week. That'd be a cool thing to do, right?
You know, I did take a picture of Todd and I at our Bartolino South barrel, and I forgot to put it in the newsletter. I guess I'm so modest. Of course, I was taking a picture of me donating food.
Look for that newsletter this week. How do you sign up for it? newstalkstl.com. Everything at newstalkstl.com. Your phone's your radio. Download the app. Carry us with you throughout the holiday season. We don't shut the radio station off just because we have the holidays. We have special holiday programming for you in store the rest of this week. And of course, over the Christmas week as well, as Chris mentioned, barely 1 month away. And then We head fully and firmly into campaign silly season. 2026 going to be very busy on the federal level and here on the state and local level as well. One of those candidates for office is former Missouri State Senator, member of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, Bill Eigel. Unleashed a bold proposal to eliminate one of the things that we hate the most this time of year. And we're going to bring him in to talk about that and more. Senator, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us once again on the program.
Thanks for having me, Tim. It is always a pleasure to join you.
Bill, one of the biggest lumps of coal that we Missourians get in our stockings occurs in about a week from now, when all of our local taxing jurisdictions send all of us who own basically almost anything, any piece of major equipment. If you're a business owner, if you have anything with 4 wheels, you get a bill for it. Bill, we get a personal property tax bill for a depreciating asset every single year that we own it, no matter how new or how old it is. Bill, I calculated the other day that if you have a 10-year-old vehicle, you have probably paid, if you include the initial sales tax and all the bills you get in the years after, you've probably paid an additional $5,000 to $10,000 over the life of this vehicle just for the honor and privilege of owning something. I thought we weren't supposed to get taxed by the king, Bill, anymore in 2025 America. What say you as to that?
Well, it's, this is a symptom. Personal property tax is a symptom of a larger problem, which is we just tax too much stuff. In our current version of American society, everything is taxed. Government can never get enough. Personal property tax is one of the more egregious examples of us not being allowed to own our own property and the government requiring us to pay rent. So to your point, Tim, I actually have unveiled just at the end of last week, we unveiled our first step in our process that we are ultimately aiming to get rid of personal property tax in St. Charles County. The first step in that is to modify the St. Charles County Charter. We're a charter county in Missouri, to allow the county executive, that's the position that I'm running for, to send surpluses and efficiencies of county government to the county collector to effectively pay down the personal property tax bills and property tax bills of its residents. I think there is enough surplus and enough waste in the county government, which is separate from the schools, separate from the fire departments, separate from the libraries. There is enough money there that we can actually pay down and eliminate personal property tax as a functional piece of our revenue stream in St. Charles County. So what I'm asking folks to do right now is to go to our website. If you live in St. Charles County, axthetaxstc.com and sign up to be a part of that signature process. And if we collect enough signatures, we're going to put this on the ballot and take the first steps in becoming the first county to eliminate personal property tax.
Senator, can you specifically identify areas of excess funds that could be used to pay off people's personal and real property tax bills?
Absolutely. Let me give you a couple of examples. There's some of them are capital expenditures, like what we do for the family arena. The family arena over in St. Charles County. Some folks are familiar with it, but it's become a huge money pit under Steve Ellman. It's losing us millions of dollars in operating losses every year. We've spent more than $30 million in physical maintenance to this facility just over the past 3 years. And it's never going to be competitive with the newer facilities around town. It's always going to be obsolete, but we're losing tens of millions of dollars. The National Equestrian Center. Why is the county getting involved in horse shows and other private events at the National Equestrian Center over in Lake St. Louis? Also going to cost us tens of millions of dollars to maintain all those buildings, and it's going to cost us millions of dollars in operating losses. Other things, do we need a $2 million dog park that Steve Ellman wants to build out in New Melly instead of addressing the property tax bills of its citizens? We have a lot of functions of government that we don't need to be doing. And now the county budget, as a result of all this waste, is bigger than it's ever been before. We have a $600 million county budget that is full of these kind of wasteful items. That's exactly what I want to get in there. I want to cut that out. And by the way, when it comes to surpluses, the $1.5 use tax that the people approved a couple of years ago to put a use tax on internet purchases is building up in another giant surplus right now, about $35 million annually. By the time the next county executive gets in there, almost $50 million annually that could be going to tax reduction on personal property and real estate. So yeah, there is a lot of waste. And I really, Chris, this is the big difference between me and Steve Ellman. Steve Ellman owned this giant property tax bill mess in St. Charles County that people are struggling to stay in their homes. I'm proposing a new St. Charles County where we eliminate personal property tax and we reduce the property tax burden. Steve Ellman's he's happy with the status quo. It's a big difference between the two of us.
Speaking to former Missouri State Senator, candidate for St. Charles County Executive Bill Eigel. Bill, I had a discussion this morning with a group of folks along the lines that you just mentioned about Missouri and Eastern Missouri being a actual high tax area. A lot of people think we are a low tax area. And Bill, isn't it true that on individual line items, if you pull out individual taxes, whatever those might be, they on their own may be lower than the national average, but Missouri has so many taxing jurisdictions. I believe we have nearly half of the taxing jurisdictions in the entire country, which is amazing. You know, we have cities and counties and school districts and water districts and sewer districts and you name it. We've got the district and they all have taxing power. So, Bill, when you combine them, we actually have a pretty above average overall local and state tax burden, don't we?
Yeah, we absolutely do. In fact, if you look at Jefferson City, and you know I was very familiar with this while I was down there, in Jefferson City at the state level, we are spending more than twice per person in the state of Missouri than the state of Florida spends per person down in the Sunshine State. We are spending more than twice per person what the state of Texas, what the state of Tennessee is spending per person in those other big red states. And so we are absolutely spending so much money on so many different forms of taxation. These are other states that don't even have an income tax. These are other states that don't have personal property tax. And it's not that they don't have critical services. It's not like they don't have police. It's not like they don't have fire or well-funded schools. But compared to Missouri, our government is taking so much money out of our bank account that people are having a tough time staying in their homes and maintaining their property. And this is the problem that you run into when you've got guys and gals who have been in office for 20 or 30 years, like Steve Ellman. They no longer recognize the forest from the trees, that all this government isn't improving things. It's actually starting to cause stagnation, which is why my intention is to hold Steve Ellman accountable to what he promised he would do, and that is retire next year. I'm going to make sure it happens.
Senator, are you proposing, are you deferring, are you proposing to defer maintenance on the St. Charles Arena if you're not paying for the maintenance of it? How does that work?
I'm proposing that county government should never have owned the family arena in the first place. I mean, why, Chris, I think you kind of might maybe agree with me here. Why is the county government involved in running an entertainment complex? I mean,
so are you talking about selling it off? I mean, the county owns it now. What are you talking about, selling it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am talking about, I'd like to see an environment where the 45 to 50 acres that the family arena is sitting on right now is redeveloped much more efficiently and run much more efficiently by the private sector, instead of having the county government be in charge of trying to run an entertainment complex. Of all the things that government is not very good at, running entertainment complexes is absolutely probably near the top of the list. It should never have been in the county in the first place. And so it's no surprise to me that one example in particular, it has become a massive money pit for the taxpayers of St. Charles County. And a guy like Steve Ellman can't see the forest from the trees. It's been around as long as he has, and he can't bring himself to say this is no longer a good investment for St. Charles County. We need to start focusing on reducing the tax burden. That's why I think we need a reformer in the top position of the county government. That's why I'm running to be the next person.
Bill, as you were describing the personal property tax elimination plan that you were mentioning and returning money to the taxpayers, it reminded me of one, maybe the only one rational, sane thing that crazy Colorado does because of something that was put into its constitution by conservatives many decades ago. And that is their Tabor bill, their taxpayer bill of rights. So, Bill, even in deep blue Colorado, when they have surpluses because of the Tabor provision, they actually, this is amazing, right? That we actually do this in the United States of America. They return money in the form of rebate checks to every Coloradan, which is why that has not been repealed, right? Even in Colorado, they've tried to repeal that. The left has tried really hard, but everybody, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, politically agnostic, you like getting some of your money back. So it's kind of the same concept, isn't it? Because you force government to live within its means. And when it has a surplus, instead of spending it and wasting it, you send it back to the people.
Tim, you're spot on. In fact, the very first bill that I actually filed when I was a brand new senator in 2016 was Tabor for Missouri. We were going to put some spending restrictions on government in Missouri, and it never went anywhere because we have way too many Republicans. Many of them, unfortunately, are in St. Louis County right now that love big government almost as much as our Democratic neighbors love big government. We are spending more at the state level and the county level than we ever have before. I have yet in 10 years of being in this public discussion found someone that believes they are getting more for the record amount of money that they're sending to government than they were 10 years ago. So the answer, if we truly want tax relief, if we whether it's a Republican Party or a red state of Missouri, truly believe that tax relief is an economic generator, then we have got to cut spending. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what the governor's going to do. He's talking about getting rid of the income tax. Is he going to be committed to cutting spending? I don't know. As the next county executive of St. Charles County, I am committed to reducing the spending at the county level and rolling those savings into reductions of personal property tax and real estate tax. The biggest difference is right there between me and Steve Elman.
Senator, we know the Post-Dispatch are no friends of Republicans or conservatives. You want to address the hit piece that they did on you last week about your campaign receiving campaign donations from senior citizens that live outside the state?
Yeah, I got to tell you, my comment is that I can't tell you how appreciative I am for every one of the more than 250,000 people that have donated to not just my current campaign, but my previous campaigns. I have folks, and I'm very upfront about this. I've got folks from all over the country that I advertise my brand and my ideas to, and folks are willing to donate $1 or $5 at a time to support my efforts. It's kind of like crowdfunding for campaigns, and it's been very good because on the flip side, I don't have a lot of donors that are donating $1 million at a time like some of the other big political names in our state that are expecting favors to be done for them once I win my election. So I'm thrilled to have all my donors, and I think that hit piece that was put against me trying to cast a negative light on my donations because they talk to exactly one person out of 250,000 donors, I think is ridiculous. I think it was probably planted by my opponents, and I think it was probably planted by the consultant class that probably works for Steve Elman, because those guys know that Steve Elman is losing the battle of ideas with me right now. So the only chance that guys like Steve Elman have is to smear me personally, just like all my opponents have done, because my opponents know that they don't connect with everyday folks and they have no ideas that are worth fighting for. So I'm not worried about that. I got attacked. You guys know I got attacked like this when I was running for governor, when I was running for state senator. That's a campaign of yesteryear. I'm not going to buy into that. I'm thinking about St. Charles County and where we're going to go in the future.
If you want to check out the proposed plan that the former state senator, candidate for county exec Bill Eigel, has proposed, you can check it out at BillEigel.com, Bill Eigel on Twitter X, and more. Senator, thanks for, and if folks want to donate, right, they can donate there as well. Senator, thanks for all.
Absolutely.
They can add their names to that list. Thanks for all your time today. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll speak with you again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you as well. All right, we are now, my goodness, in the latter half of the show.
Quick show.
It is indeed. We're going to speak to Susie Moore. She's the host. She's the co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning program. She's also the host of Red State Radio and a contributor, deputy managing editor at redstate.com. Red State headlines of the day, chalking up another win at the Supreme Court for the Trump administration, and more when Chris and I return. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
I don't need a big bank with a skyscraper in Kami Mandamis, New York, or a call center overseas where you can't understand the people that you're talking to. I need a bank that I know that knows St. Louis streets, St. Louis families, and St. Louis dreams. That's what Royal Banks delivers, real community banking backed by decades of trust and local commitment. Because at the end of the day, banking isn't just about dollars, it's about relationships. It's about sitting across from someone who understands our community because they're part of it. Someone who doesn't just see an account, they see your goals, your business, your family, your future. And that's why I've been banking with Royal Banks of Missouri for over 20 years. Royal Banks has been serving our region for more than 60 years, and they just reaffirmed that commitment with a brand new spanking headquarters right in beautiful University City, right at Olive McKnight, right across from the new development where the Target's going up, bringing their home base back to where it all began. And they're not just rooted here, they're thriving here. Back in September, Royal Banks was named the 23rd fastest growing private company in St. Louis and the fastest growing bank at the 2025 St. Louis Business Journal Fast 50 Awards. 16 locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, even up in Northeast Missouri. Still locally owned, still independent, still community strong. Visit today, royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com, Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Hi, it's Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the largest RE/MAX franchise in the region. The summer housing market is hot, and the fall market looks to be as hot. If buying or selling a home is in your future, it is time to act now. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me, Mark Harder, for fast results. RE/MAX Results. 314-852-8933. 314-852-8933. And start packing.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield. Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Let me ask you big picture, Mr. Secretary. Which parts of the economy do you believe have dipped into a recession?
Well, clearly housing has been struggling, and interest rate sensitive sectors have been in a recession. And the other thing that was not helpful, Kristen, was the longest government shutdown in history. It was 1.5% hit to GDP. They had 9,500 flights canceled. And the Democrats didn't care that they hurt the American economy. Anything to stop Donald Trump.
Oh, Kristen Welker, so good at the loaded, factually inaccurate question. Chris, that's one of those where you immediately should have said, if this was J.D. Vance or President, somebody else might have said, you know what, Kristen, I disagree with the premise of your question. You're making a statement as if we are in a recession, which maybe Bissett said, okay, maybe in a sector here and there. I would have said, let's first answer why we may be in a recession on certain things. Because the Democrats shut down the economy basically for 50 days.
Exactly. And knowing her and the other hosts on these Sunday shows would have been a back and forth check. Fact checkers episode.
Yep. Now they do lots of different things today instead of reporting things journalistically accurate. But we have got somebody on the line who is of the utmost integrity when it comes to reporting the facts, ma'am. And that would be our next guest.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
As she does every Monday afternoon, Smoozy Q on Twitter X, Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com and co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, joining us once again. Susie, hope you're doing great, and I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving as we head towards the big U.S. holiday.
Thanks. It's fast approaching, isn't it?
It sure is indeed, for sure. Susie, Scott Bessent there addressing something that, look, if Democrats, if Democrats didn't have a bad idea, they'd have no ideas at all, right? So instead of working with the president or this administration to do something for the American people, they basically just did something to the American people, right, Susie? They shut the economy. They created a crisis, and then they blamed the Republicans for all of the fallout from the crisis that they created.
Yeah, that kind of seems to be like a lot of what we see them do. Rattle the cages, poke the bear, and then when there's a reaction, cry foul, or in the case of the shutdown, create the shutdown and then try and point the finger elsewhere instead of accepting the responsibility. But, I mean, that's kind of what we've come to expect.
Susan, we talked about it last week, the Letitia James Comey case, the legal principle that had the administration already used their interim pick when they put the first person in and then this other person replaced them. Your thoughts on that? Did you see it going that way?
Well, I wasn't sure how the judge was going to rule on that. Obviously, we got that ruling today, and she determined that yes, that Lindsay Halligan, the current person in that role, was not properly appointed by the Attorney General, and therefore, the indictments that she was responsible for securing were invalid, and that then necessitated dismissing the cases against James and Comey, although without prejudice. But I've seen a lot of back and forth on the ruling and on the statutory section involved and the appointments clause, which, of course, as people might recall, it was the appointments clause that was the basis for the dismissal of the Florida classified documents case against President Trump, and regarding Jack Smith's appointment there. Slightly different situation, but similar principle and similar provision invoked there. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm 99%. Well, I'm certain the administration is going to appeal the judge's ruling, and we'll just have to see how it shakes out. But obviously, that was not a ruling that favors the prosecution, and so I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are a little undone by it.
Yeah, Susie, one of the things that I thought was avoidable here was the procedural process unforced error, right? Because before folks get too excited, one way or the other, this was not a ruling on the merits. I think we often talk about these decisions, and it seems like, Susie, these days, everyone's arguing more about process than substance. So it would be inappropriate, wouldn't it, for people to say that, quote, Comey or James won. The cases were dismissed without prejudice, which in the legal world means you can refile the cases. But it would have been nice not to have a DOJ that would have committed all these procedural errors along the way of trying to get a substantive ruling on the merits of the matter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can truly fault the DOJ, because I'm not sure that the appointment of Halligan is, I mean, I know the judge has held that that's improper, but that's why I think it's going to be appealed. I'm not sure the judge is right in her ruling. Could they have foregone that even being an issue? Yeah, I guess if they could have gotten a U.S. attorney appointed and approved by the Senate in time to deal with it, but they were, facing a time crunch. And so they went through a reading of the statute that allows the AG to appoint an interim U.S. attorney. And I think they've got a solid argument. I don't know that they're, for sure going to win on appeal, but I think they've got a decent argument on that appeal. But it's kind of a distraction because it doesn't really get to the heart of the prosecution, whether there's a basis for it, whether his defenses like, that it was a vindictive prosecution, that sort of thing are, hold weight or not. We'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out when and if it's either overturned on appeal or they refile it.
Susie, on Friday, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, he restored Texas's new congressional map for now. What happens next?
Well, what the court did was issue what's called an administrative stay, which basically just means a temporary stay. The lower court, the district court here, it was actually a 3-judge panel, reviewed the maps. 2 of the 3 judges said no, those aren't any good. And so the state of Texas appealed directly to the Supreme Court, seeking a stay of that order. And what the Supreme Court has done is said, basically, we're going to hold on to that order for now. We're going to take a look. You need to brief this issue, and we're going to look a little bit more substantively. So we could get another ruling from the Supreme Court this week that either formally grants the application for stay, or doesn't. And that's going to kind of determine where it goes from there. There was obviously a very scorching dissent filed in that case last week from the judge that didn't agree with the decision, I think with a primary audience of one, that being Sam Alito. So my gut tells me that the Supreme Court is probably going to say, yeah, we are going to formally grant the application for stay, and, set a time to argue this, or ask that it, be on hold until they rule on the Louisiana case, which also has to do with redistricting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Susie, because there has been a rash of redistricting, including some cases that date back years, like in the situation of the Voting Rights Act case, right? All of these are congressional redistricting cases. They all involve elections to the U.S. Congress. They all involve federal questions. Susie, do you think it's looking like all of these cases from all these different states are ultimately going to end up in the U.S. Supreme Court for final decisions on the merits?
Well, it depends, because they already have heard oral argument on the Louisiana case for the second time. And that was in early October. So they could rule on that, maybe anytime within the next month or two. And that may actually end up, setting the precedent for some of the other cases that are sort of working their way up. But the issues aren't exactly identical, so maybe not. Maybe there are parts of them that will have to be heard separately. We've got, obviously, the Texas case is a big one. But then, the California just passed Prop 50, and the Republicans in California have filed a suit there challenging that ruling. So I think these are all going to be in various stages, and a lot of it probably isn't going to be settled before the midterms.
Susie, the big story on Red State right now is about a massive meth seizure in the South. The FBI seized that meth. It's almost like, you forgot about meth. It's the big drug that you heard about years ago, of 10 or 15 years ago. But now fentanyl and cocaine and other synthetic drugs you're hearing about. Tell us about this article, and is meth making a comeback?
Well, I don't know if it's making a comeback. I don't have my ear to the ground in the drug scene, but but it's certainly, this administration and the FBI have made, addressing the drug issue very much a priority. And we're seeing that, in terms of how they're handling the drug boats out of Venezuela. We're seeing that lots of seizures like this across the United States in various locations. So it seems to me like they're definitely being very aggressive in pursuing the drug smuggling operations, whether they're coming by land or by sea. So I don't know what that's doing to the price of drugs. I don't know. Like I said, my ear isn't to the ground on that, but I gotta believe it's actually, probably having an effect on, some of their cartels and some of the people who are attempting to profit from it.
Hot off the presses, Susie, you've got a great new article up at redstate.com. Susie is deputy managing editor at redstate.com, in addition to the other hats that she wears. Susie, the title of the article, Chalk Up Another Win at the Supreme Court for the Trump administration. Susie, you mentioned in the article, this may not be the sexiest or most headline-grabbing case, but it's an important one. Do tell.
Yeah. So there's been a whole passel of these cases where the Trump administration came in. President Trump basically tried to remove from office these independent agency leaders, saying basically they're under the umbrella of the executive. I have a say in whether or not they keep those roles. So he's booted a lot of these different agency leaders out, and a lot of them have sued over that. Those cases have sort of not gone his way necessarily at the district court level, but on appeal, they've gone pretty, are already up at the Supreme Court. One set to be argued in December, one set to be argued in January. This is another one of those cases. But in this case, the district court ruled against Trump. The Court of Appeals in D.C. ruled in favor of the Trump administration and stayed the district court decision. And the plaintiff, Mr. Harper, appealed to the Supreme Court and asked them to basically try and reverse it again, if you will. And the Supreme Court today denied cert. They basically said, no, they're not going to take that case. So that kind of leaves him kind of in the wind, if you will, with the Court of Appeals decision out there. And so that's one. I mean, I've lost track because there's been a couple since I did the last accounting of them, but I think we're up to 24 wins at the Supreme Court for this administration. And when I first saw the ruling and I saw that they denied cert, I thought, oh, shoot, the administration lost. And then I realized they weren't the ones that were asking for it. It was the plaintiff. So this was a win for them.
Susie, you have in your morning minute today about the Democrat sedition ad that they released last week, which was so slimy. I watched them all on the Sunday shows. Yeah. And they were saying, well, we're not telling these soldiers to not follow orders. And, you know, I couldn't believe a couple of the Sunday reporters actually followed up and said, well, what specific orders are you saying that are illegal? I was surprised they did that. And on ABC, Martha Raddatz was even saying, you know, you're sending mixed messages to the troops. You're saying don't follow orders. What should they listen to you? Should they listen to their commander? What should they do? You're confusing these folks because the military or courts or whatever determines what in legal order is. So it was just very, very slimy. Tell us about what you wrote about in your morning minute about this.
It was slimy. And, you know, what occurred to me as I was watching that, and okay, let's be realistic about this. Do we need PSAs from whomever saying don't break the law?
Exactly.
I don't think that we do. So what's the purpose of this to tell troops to, you know, not follow unlawful orders? Well, that means follow the law, which is what they're bound to do. That's what they swear an oath to do anyway. So what are they doing? They're implying that something that they're being told to do is illegal, even though they're like, well, I don't really know. I don't know for sure if there's anything illegal, just in case there is. So I have a whole bunch of questions about it. I want to know whose idea the ad was. I want to know who funded it. I want to know who scripted it. I want to know when was the idea for it conceived. I want to know what was the reaction they were hoping for, both from the president and from the right and from the left, and whether it violates any UCMJ provisions or other laws or regulations. I would like to get to the bottom of this. Someone had this idea. Someone had a purpose here. I think we need to know who.
There was one little interesting caveat to this. I was reading today that the Justice Department, or the Pentagon, is thinking about taking Mark Kelly off into active duty so that he can be court-martialed for this. I was like cheering when I heard that. I was like, good for them.
Yeah, they're talking about calling him back so that they can do just that, because there is a very strong argument that this was a violation of several of the UCMJ provisions. And if that's what ends up happening, he's got only himself to blame.
Yeah, I won't be crying any tears for him.
Here.
No.
Susie Moore, you can hear her tomorrow morning, co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, and check her out daily at SmoozyQ on Twitter X. And of course, all the great work she does at redstate.com. Susie, thanks for everything as always, and happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Susie.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you. 5:44 in the PM. One final segment coming up. Drones and Dummies, brought to you by Chris Arps.
Or Dummies and Drones.
Dummies and Drones.
Either one of you.
Joey
we'll
V,
talk about it.
Chris and I back for one final segment before we hand you off to Larry Connors USA. Keep it right here. Go nowhere. This is 101.9, 94.1, number one for live and local conservative talk at News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have some rain coming in tonight and overnight. Now, it's going to move out by the morning drive, but might have a little drizzle or some fog in the morning with a low down to 50 degrees. A high 57, a mainly dry day and mostly cloudy, but a passing shower is not out of the question in the late afternoon, early evening. It would be very brief, and again, most of the day dry. Wednesday's dry, but boy, here comes the cold. Mostly sunny, windy, and chilly. A high of just 45 on Wednesday. Thanksgiving, sunny, breezy, and 42. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
As our short work week continues, we'll talk to State Senator Nick Schroer, see how he feels about Justin Sparks working for President Trump in the White House. That's at 9:05 on Tuesday.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Well, coincidentally enough, I was just at Comprehensive Chiropractic today, and we're going to have Dr. Pat Fader join us in studio tomorrow. Why? Because you should not neglect your health and your healthcare needs as you head into this busy holiday season. Comprehensive Chiropractic has some really special buy one, get one free options and gifts and certificates and things that you can pick up for your loved one. Give them the gift of health and healthcare as we head into the holiday season. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance doing just that. You can check out all the great deals they have, all the wonderful services they provide at chiropractic.com. Yep, they're at chiropractic.com. They've got look at all the things they got. Yes, they've got your baseline chiropractic care. I was just there today. I was with Dr. Caleb Gorman. I'm serious, not just saying this at all. I feel so much better. I feel aligned. I feel like my posture is better. I feel like everything's just operating a little smoother. Wouldn't you rather do that than have to like go under the knife or some crazy fad types of stuff? Just do the basic care. And they've got advanced care as well. Speaking to a friend this morning, he's been having a major shoulder problem. He thought he was going to have to get surgery. He went for some extra special chiropractic care at Comprehensive Chiropractic, and he says he's feeling so much better. They've got the studio upstairs too. That is for your health and your wellness. Pilates, yoga, so many other great classes. They have the licensed massage therapist. And if you want a whole stem to stern tune-up, you can apply for and receive their personal training program. Yes, that is not just for the rich and the famous. It's for anyone and everyone who wants to be a better you. Check them out, not only through the holiday season. That's great in the holiday season. Kind of keep those anxiety levels down, keep those stress levels down. They'll work with you on your nutritional needs and so much more, but throughout 2026 and beyond. I am a 2-decade product of Comprehensive Chiropractic, and I'm going strong. Comprehensive Chiropractic at chiropractic.com. That's Comprehensive Chiropractic at chiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tim Jones here. I am beyond thankful this Thanksgiving season for God, family, friends, country, and all of you in News Talk STL Nation.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and for this Thanksgiving season, I'm most thankful for good health for everyone, my family, my friends, and you.
News Talk STL, celebrating family and friends this season of Thanksgiving. Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, Di Gregorio's Food Products, and Golden Chicken.
Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors. Experience the passion. Oh, yeah. You can go in and see the best variety, the best pricing, the best quality, the best personalized service right there off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or you can have the store come to you. Oh, yeah. Brian and his team take great pride in running a fantastic flooring outlet, and you can get their 5-star ratings right there on Google. Just check it out. It's O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Out on the streets, that's where we'll meet. You make the night, I always cross the line.
On CNN's State of the Union, Crockett said Congresswoman Green, quote, can't take the heat from President Trump.
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and I was actually listening to that interview on CNN's State of the Union. I think that's the name of the show. I listened to that point, and then I fast forwarded because I couldn't. I'm serious. I couldn't listen to it anymore. I find it very interesting that she's using her white girl proper congresswoman voice.
She sounds different there.
Yeah, she sounds.
Who was she talking to there? CNN, Dana Bash?
Yeah, Dana Bash.
Yeah, there you go.
So I couldn't listen to it. I had to fast forward.
We in these hot ass streets, honey.
That was with Van Jones, probably. Who knows? Yeah.
She can switch very quickly between Ebonics and the proper congresswoman's voice. Play it again, Joy. Oh, okay. Play a little jam, too.
We in these hot ass streets, honey.
Krasner, and she is a St. Louis homegirl, too. She sounds right at home.
So many famous things come out of Missouri, don't they?
And fortunately, she's one of them. Before we get into drones and dummies, we're going to go into Joyce V's domain here for a second. Wicked for Good grossed $150 million in North America, $226 million globally during its opening weekend, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Joey, it's the second best opening this year after a Minecraft movie and was the biggest ever for a Broadway adaptation. The Universal Pictures film starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo beat out First Wicked, which opened last year with $112 million in domestic ticket sales. Does this make you like the movie at all? Still hate it?
I want nothing to do with those movies. What is the other movies in the top 5 of the Broadway movies?
The Wiz?
You'd have to think Mamma Mia's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I bet you that made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Then Chicago won Best Picture, I think.
Does Lion King count? That's a Broadway show.
No, that was like an after-the-fact musical. You got to go in the right order.
Okay.
What about what about Moulin Rouge? Does that count at all, or no?
I don't
or was
know.
Was that a concocted Broadway musical?
I'd have to look that up and see what else Wicked was going up against.
Very interesting. Drones are becoming more and more of our society. Yes. They're even talking about drones delivering your pizzas, drones delivering your packages. Well, here's a very interesting idea. How about drones carrying defibrillators?
Oh!
If you make a call to 911 in North Carolina, the Duke Health Experiment, they're calling it, they will send a drone out to you. Hopefully there's someone that knows how to use it, but they'd say that this is much quicker than an ambulance getting to you if they fly a defibrillator to you. Tim, would you be comfortable if you called 911, someone you knew was having some heart issues, and a drone gets to you in about 7 minutes? Would you be comfortable zapping somebody?
As long as it came with an instruction manual.
Can you imagine somebody sitting there trying to, all right, what do I do next? You're trying to read the instruction manual while someone's having like a heart attack.
So those AEDs, which is what they're called now, they're actually very easy to use.
Are they? Okay.
They're very easy to use.
I hope I never have to
I hope
use
you never
one.
have to. But can I give you a public service announcement? Serious story. I will not.
You
really
use one?
No, but a friend of mine did last week.
Oh, wow.
I will not use names to protect the innocent. But a very good, I was out of town when this happened.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine who I went to grade school with, and it makes me even more concerned because it was a family that I knew, and he was one of the younger kids. He's probably 7 years younger than me.
Okay.
He had a heart attack at the Legends at the golf course in my neighborhood. And thank God, one of the other guys I know knew CPR, and one of the ladies ran into the clubhouse and grabbed the AED and ran out. Chris, they saved his life. I didn't know. I knew none of this happened. I'm on this chat with the golf guys. I don't look at it every day. It's one of those long, people go on and on and on.
Sure.
And I go through it and I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is. Oh, and I'm reading down. I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? And like, oh, thank God. Okay. He's alive.
Wow.
They put stints in. He's fine. But Chris, he's in his late 40s.
Yeah.
And my public service announcement is, if you are at a place that often has a lot of people, ask them if they have an AED defibrillator. Because like I said, Chris, I think it's very simple. It's like, one, pull the ripcord. Two, smash. You know what I mean? It's like
you do see them out everywhere in places, AEDs, and you just see them connected to a wall or something.
Right. They're not the ones, they're not the big fancy that the paramedics use that are a little more complicated. This is for basic life support.
Okay.
So the first thing you should do is tell someone to call 911, right? Second thing you should do is get the AED. So if you're at a place where there's a lot of people, a school, a club, ask them if they have one. and make sure you know where it is. Because if my one friend hadn't known CPR and the other lady hadn't gone and got the AED, I don't know if this relatively young man would still be with us. And he has a family and all that. I was so relieved to know he was okay. It was a shocking, you hear about that stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, this happened in the backyard. So
I'm thinking about, look, I'm a kid of the 70s, so I remember watching Emergency 51.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking of, you bring out these big giant paddles, you got to put the lubricant on there, you rub them together, and then you're like, clear, and you zap someone. So
I always wonder why they said clear.
I don't know. It's like, don't waste any time at all. If I'm having a heart attack, zap me. Don't give me no clear.
Turn that sucker all the way up.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So, wow, I'm glad your friend is okay, and I'm glad that they have these defibrillators handy. And according to this, you may get, instead of an ambulance coming to you with paramedics using these, they might just fly it out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm glad you brought that story up. In all seriousness, you know what? I think we should ask Joe and Jeff if we should get an AED for Christmas here at News Talk STL.
Because most of us here are, in middle age.
We're getting there.
Joey's the youngest person here, probably, or Tony's probably. Tony's older than you. Joey's probably
Ashland,
yeah,
He's probably the youngest,
and then Joey.
Yeah, then Joey.
And then the rest of us are pretty long in the tooth.
I think Ashland's 19 and Joey's 20.
It seems like that. All right, the dummies part of the story. The federal government will soon require car makers to test vehicle safety systems using advanced crash dummies that more accurately represent female bodies. Women face a much higher risk than men of being seriously injured or killed in a crash, but most vehicle safety systems are tested using male crash test dummies. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy unveiled an advanced female Duffy. This is a weird name for it. It's called the Thor 05F. Why would you name a female crash dummy Thor? But it's the Thor 05F.
That made sense.
That can help close the gender gap in vehicle crashes. The standard crash test dummy is a 50 percentile male, representing the average U.S. soldier in the 60s. A female dummy added in the early 2000s represents a 5th percentile woman under 5 feet tall and 108 pounds, and thus doesn't consider the other 95% of women. So talk about equality. Yes. Now, equality with crash dummies.
Hallelujah.
All right, coming up, Larry Connors, USA at 6 o'clock. He's going to give you all of the latest news, and he's going to have a story after the story. I literally look forward to hearing that segment because Larry's lived a very interesting life, if I say that. All right, you've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Hey, folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner Home Selling Team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen,